It's time once again for another edition of Talk to Me. And now, here's Emmy himself, 8-time Emmy Award-winning journalist, Maynard Eaton.
Hello again, and welcome to Talk to Me, our weekly conversation with the influencers across the spectrum of Black Atlanta, be they political, educational. This week, we have one of Atlanta's business leaders. His name is Joseph Joe Hudson, Uncle Joe, as many folks to call him, who's spent 50 years of community leadership as a business leader. Joe Hudson, welcome to Talk to Me.
Well, thank you, Maynard. It's a privilege to join you today, and I look forward to our conversation.
You know, as you well know, this is Black History Month, and you kind of called out or scolded some of Atlanta's Black leaders, a city that's called the Black Mecca, with when you penned an opinion piece called From Marginalized to Mainstream. Here's just a brief look at it, but in this little piece, this is just part of it, you said, we have many rich Black people in Atlanta who, as Maynard Jackson, former Mayor Maynard Jackson used to say, get what they can what they get, and sit on the can. That's a little slap at some of the Atlanta's well-to-do, is it not?
Well, yes, and it was meant to be. It's not often in today's world that we have a lot of last week we lost one of our really important business and civic leaders in Hank Aaron. And Hank was just the opposite of this. Hank had made his money, but yet he came back and he got involved with the community and supported those things that were of interest to him and how he could help others with his funds. What we're finding today is that a lot of people are making money, a lot of money, and what it is, they just go buy a big house out in the suburbs and a fancy car and live the life of luxury. And we don't see the return. It's not that they're not making gifts, but it's an interesting thing. I'm going to put it this way: the money that they may give back to the community is given to middle class efforts. Now, I'm going to get cursed out for this, but what I mean by middle class efforts is like the mayor's mask ball or any of those kinds of events at which there's a lot of celebrity attached to it. Then people tend to participate, and buying a ticket is not the same as making a gift to the UNCF. That's a different story. And so what I notice is that that's the kind of thing that people will do, and especially if it has some famous name attached to it. You put on a fundraiser and say Tyler Perry's going to do it, and people just show up in droves. But the purpose of having a Tyler Perry or anyone else is that they are trying to help some other people throughout in our community. And what it is, that's the thing that we're not really contributing to. We may involve ourselves in the events and of that kind of thing, but we're not really involving ourselves in the programmatic support.
So, as I've said to the audience, you have a history. You've more some 50 years of leadership in the Black business community. But as you well know, then and now, we've been known as a city of the haves and the have-nots. And what I hear you saying, the haves are not helping the have-nots.
Yes, and it's a funny thing because I remember it kind of was a rebirth during Maynard Jackson's years. That's kind of when the rebirth of the have and have-nots came about, because we were coming out of the civil rights period and we were Black. We had solidarity. I'll use that word. There was a sense of solidarity within the Black community. So we didn't have any separation. We were one people. And so when Maynard came along and then once he got elected and we started making some monies through governmental support programs, what happened is people started to segment themselves. All of a sudden, people that went to the local colleges, they were different than people that went to the local high schools. and it just became an interesting time, and people were fraternities and sororities came into play and being real, and there's nothing against any of that. That's not the point. The point is that we started to, if you're a member of a fraternity, that generally meant that you went to college. So that the Joe Blue Collar who didn't go to college and still riding MARTA is if he or she is in need of something, then they are not even recognized as necessarily to have a need.
You're saying in your opinion piece that the Black business community needs to step into city leadership roles. Haven't they
Right.
always been? Haven't they always been the Black leaders, or that's a
Well,
misnomer?
back in the day. Now I give 1,000% credit when back in the early days of the Jackson administration, Maynard didn't have necessarily much to do with it, but we had the Atlanta Action Forum, which is a civic a business civic group, and we had meeting people like Jesse Hill and Herman Russell and others that were involved in trying to help steer the community and inform the white community, especially the business community, of needs and those kinds of things. We don't. That organization went away, and now you don't see that. So what we see is just because you belong to the Capital City Club doesn't make you anybody individuals. People are like joining the Capital City Club as a way of networking, but at the same time, while you're meeting people, you're not and joining people and causing and helping to move them along. And I even see a change, and I'll be honest with you, I even see a change in organizations like Leadership Atlanta, etc. Leadership Atlanta, when it was formed, when I went through back in the dirt days, it was aimed at trying to help the Black community and or the lesser community, and what corporations could do and how they could do that. Now it just appears, but it appears that it's turned into a how to climb the corporate ladder. Events and things are around personal growth and development within the corporate community, which is totally different than helping the Black community at large.
Joe Hudson, as you well know, or may well know, organizations like the Gathering Spot has now become the new vogue place for young
Right.
Black business, up and coming Black folks to come. Is that
Right.
replacing? Is that doing the job you think it should be done? Place like the Gathering
Well,
Spot?
yeah, I actually I think they're doing a wonderful job. I'm saying that to say there are some young people out here that are. There's no question about it. The lady who has the slutty vegan and those folk are giving back. They put their business plan together with a sense of philanthropy inside the plan, so that they are giving back. There are many of them, and you find them in places like the Gathering Spot where they're sharing information and how to make these things happen. So yes, that's a very important organization for this day and time. It just doesn't. It's a complement to what I think ought to be happening, rather than necessarily leading what ought to be happening.
You saying again in that opinion piece, there is no real reason that the Black business community cannot begin to underwrite those things the Black community really needs in real life. What's
Right.
the failing there?
Well, here again, it's just like if we have at Morehouse School of Medicine, I'll just pick something where we have health issues, and they need money to underwrite some program. Well, our Black business community doesn't step up to help fund that. We leave it to Morehouse to go find a grant somewhere to do that. And if seed money were important, then that would happen. Now, it did happen. Interestingly enough, when the Morehouse president came on board, the Morehouse medical president came on board, a group of Black women raised $250,000 to show that they supported that sister. Now that was amazing to me. But that's the kind of thing that we can do when we have the mind to do it.
Joe, you mentioned former Atlanta Mayor Maynard Jackson, historic figure. But as I recall, and correct me if I'm wrong, after his first two terms were over, he couldn't find a job here and had to leave town, go to Chicago. Is that correct? Despite all
That's
the black,
correct.
despite all the black millionaires he had made, right?
That's correct. That's part of the irony of the whole situation. And when you look, and the people who have helped make other people, they're just tossed aside. But it's a strange thing about entrepreneurship, economics, and money. Just money makes you do interesting things. You find a lot of black business people supported our past president. They didn't support him necessarily because they loved him. They supported him because of tax benefits and other things that the Republican Party puts forth. Now, that's understandable. But on the other hand, it doesn't relinquish the need for you to continue to support those smaller organizations in town that need support, underwrite programs at your churches, underwrite programs. There's a lot of worthy nonprofits that need support every single day.
You also write that black wealth is nothing without black infrastructure. You quoted Dr.
Right,
Devin Robertson there. You see that
right.
playing out as soon. There is no black infrastructure now that you can discern or applaud.
Well, see, that to me, that's the underwriting principle for support of the black community. So that's something that you could count on, that you could go to. Um, the NAACP is a part of an infrastructure need, but you don't get that. NAACP doesn't get a lot of support from the black business
Right.
community, as an example, or necessarily the Urban League or any of those kind of organizations. They are infrastructural things that cause or bring support to our efforts, but yet they don't get support in return. And there's a in business, everybody's looking for a return on their investment. And it's the same thing here, that our black communities deserve a return on their investment for supporting the very existence of the programs that have allowed these people to make all this money. Because without the black community supporting Maynard, then these programs wouldn't have come into being. And so it's just that simple. But yet you don't get a reciprocal response from the business community. Everybody tends to be a little selfish about it. It's understandable, but it's unfortunate.
Joe, what's been the response to your scathing letter? What's been the reaction? How has it been received by your colleagues, people you know and work with for years?
Well, everybody has said, Joe, it's great. You're on point, and we like what you said. That was that. I mean, I've even gotten responses because it was also printed in the supporter report, and some people that I'm not even aware of. I mean, they responded. The only response is that it opens the idea of a challenge that people don't think can be met. And I don't believe that. I believe that we can do that. If we, what is happening now, in my opinion, Maynard, is that the given our past president and the kinds of things that we have seen happen, what I'm viewing is there's a solidarity coming about in the white community. People are coming together. White people are coming together. It used to be the left out white people. Now it's middle class and white people and some very rich white people are coming together. And so that they are coming together to protect what they have in place. What we have to do is the same thing. We have to come
Uh,
together as a black community to protect what little gains we have made, and then to push forward to have additional gains. And we don't, for example, we don't push for tax benefits for small businesses within our neighborhood communities. That's something that we could do. We have black elected officials. I don't know how to structure to say it, but I know what it looks like. If you want businesses in your community, what they're doing is giving the tax benefits to somebody with some developer with a grand idea. But there's not that doesn't mean that you couldn't have equally those same benefits targeted towards small communities. Hypothetically, you have cities like College Park, East Point, South Fulton. They're black cities. There's no question about it. Now, we could do things in those communities and not be afraid that we're going to upset the white population because we dominate the community. As we could have a black restaurant row. I'm making up this. You could have a black restaurant row in East Point or College Park, hypothetically. We have all these wonderful black chefs and business owners out here now. If you put them in one place, gave them tax incentives to be there, then they could make money being underwritten by the city and repay it in taxes. And they're not going to take the same tax hit that the bigger guys do. And so what happens is we create a tourist attraction around blackness, quote unquote, and that tourist attraction creates other taxable income throughout and jobs throughout these communities. So it's not impossible. It's just how you look at it rather than going along with what we currently do and everybody's happy.
Joe, I know we talk about black business, or the lack thereof in terms of leadership, but in terms of political leadership, I've not heard you mention anybody but the former mayor Maynard Jackson. Are we lacking political leadership in a mayoral election year? Will that come to play, you think?
I no, I don't think it will. I don't think that it's like I got an email this morning from a group and they were talking about social justice issues and they had a list of social justice issues and not one of them was economic. It's just very difficult for people to speak about the economic issues because they're not supported by the black community to help them fight for economic issues. Now, Maynard was, I know that happened. That we supported Maynard financially from the black business community, and the black business community received the reward of the support. And
Right.
so it we don't have this, but we don't have people doing that today. We have them individually doing it for their own individual benefit, whatever that may be. And I understand that. But it's the collective we that we seem to have lost. Now it's all about I. It's about what I'm doing, what I'm trying to do, and how successful I am. And did you notice my picture on Facebook? See me? It's so we don't see we don't see us, we don't see any of those kind of pronouns to be involved with the way people act, talk, or do.
Hmm. This is Black History Month, but sounds like you're overly concerned about Atlanta's black future economically.
Right. Well, only to the extent that we've had. That's funny. When I first came here, there was Hunter Street. That was in the
Yeah.
'70s, and you had. I tell a story which I don't have time to tell about how the black dollar moved on Hunter Street from Pascal's to 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 QV Williamson's to the Mr. I can't think of his name, the drugstore on the corner, and to all those different places to Don Clendenin's, all of those places, the money moved from hand to foot. I mean, hand to hand, and it supported one another. That's what happened when we were. And when we had a solidarity, because we were still believing that the white community was not going to help us become what we wish to become, so we had to do it ourselves. And I think that we've gotten lost somewhere in that idea that the white folk are going to really help you. This is about money. And money, when it's about money, it has nothing. Color goes, everything goes out the window when it's about money. And so we don't pretend that if you think that. Well, I'll give you another example. When Maynard started, he started joint venturing. If you remember, that was
Right.
a big
Right.
thing with the airport. Where did joint venturing go? What happened? It didn't get legally phased out. It just went away. Now, what was joint venturing? Joint venturing was creation of a similar business that the black uh, owner would have that was like the white owner. Okay, so in other words, it was creating a self competition group, and the way that the city's program was constructed. Well, they don't want no competition, so they figured out let's keep them under control. We can deal with subcontracts, but joint venture is a whole nother story. We're not gonna continue to have joint ventures. We'll just let that go away and have that we the big corporate community, white Atlanta political political folk could deal with. You could deal with subcontracts because that keeps the black people in the place. You don't get lost. You know where you are. You are always you're number two. You're not number one. So
You know,
there's
you're
just a
number
big
one.
challenge. Huh?
You're number one. I really salute you, man, for your courage to bring this issue forth, because few people are talking about it. But that's why you're a strategic leader, though.
Yeah. Well, that's why I don't have any money either. but,
I know that
that's
feeling.
that's okay. That's okay. God blesses me every single day by waking me up. And He's given me enough experiences. The one thing that I will say about my travels throughout the city is that I have been involved in things that other people haven't. So I see things differently than other people based upon my experiences. So I'm not just a business developer. I've helped the white facilitated corporate supply development. I've helped the businesses to develop, helped white firms to create joint ventures. I've helped. I've been to foreign countries and listened to them. I've I've been to toured military bases and had an understanding of how they think, how the general thinks, or the admiral, or depending upon the branch of service. All of those different kind of things. Most people haven't had that experience. So when I tie all of those experiences together with the quest, which is business development, black business development. And so I see things a little differently than the average person who's involved in this whole arena.
Joe Hudson, we thank you, man, for your insight
Mm.
and your knowledge. This has been Talk to Me. We'll see you next week.
Okay.